Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Aravavahai, Tejasvinavaditamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And we will share the screen here. Share, May 24th. Very good. Move things around. And Yoga Sutras, first topic. We are starting a review, chapter 2, which means I get to ask you questions. First question. Kriya Yoga consists of 3 practices. What are they? So this is Patanjali's definition of Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga consists of austerity, self-study, and devotion to Ishvara. So those are 3 of Patanjali's niyamas, which he only has 5. So 3 of the niyamas are considered especially important. Austerity, tapas, tavam, self-study, swadhyaya, devotion to Ishvara, Ishvara pranidhana, which is similar to our Ishvara pujana, but focusing more on devotion than on worship. So devotion to Ishvara. And because it's an important verse, we look at the Sanskrit. Kriya Yoga, Tapa Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana. Very simple. In modern Hindu teachings, as we know, Kriya Yoga generally refers to a spiritual path that includes techniques of meditation, particularly those that focus on breathing techniques and pranayama. So that's a good practice. This is not being critical of that practice. It's just different use of the term. Here, however, the term simply means the yoga of action. Kriya can be translated as action. Kriya can also be rendered in English as the yoga of religious action. Tapas austerity may bring to mind images of yogis wintering in Himalayan caves or bathing in the freezing waters of the Ganga. Though tapas does include such intense practices, it also includes moderate disciplines that can be done by all. Simple form of tapas is sacrifice. Sacrifice is the act of giving up a cherished possession, be it money, time, or a treasured item. Swadhyaya involves both the study of sacred texts and introspection. It implies a process of learning about one's own true nature. It's not just studying about the world. Through study of important spiritual texts, reflection, and meditation. Chosen texts may vary according to the cultural and religious context. It might include works like the Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Sutras, and other scriptures that lead to greater understanding of oneself and the universe. Commentators sometimes include as an element of Swadhyaya japa, because we don't have japa here as a separate niyama. Recitation of the sacred syllable Om and other mantras. Ishvara Pranidhana is total surrender to God. Though yoga as taught today tends to altogether leave out the concept of the personal God, Ishvara Pranidhana stresses it and gives it a place of centrality. So it's very important, the worship and devotion to Ishvara in Patanjali's approach to yoga. Second question already. What is the purpose of Kriya Yoga? Okay, we're doing all of these three practices. Why are we doing them? What's the promised benefit? The purpose is to bring about samadhi and attenuate the kleshas. So samadhi is the goal, ultimate goal there. So this is a very important practice, these three, for achieving samadhi and lessening the kleshas. So we'll look at the kleshas a little more in detail soon. Patanjali is about to reveal the 5 obstacles to spiritual progress, which he calls the kleshas, the mental afflictions or existential poisons that are the root of suffering. Quite a statement. Delusion and obstacles on the spiritual path. They must be diminished to free the yogi to go within. Some additional thoughts. In chapter 1, Patanjali gave 8 methods for achieving samadhi, one of which is Ishvara Pranidhana, to devotion to God. In verse 2 of this chapter, he is given just one method for bringing about samadhi and attenuating the kleshas, which is Kriya Yoga. And of the 3 practices of Kriya Yoga, Ishvara Pranidhana is one of them. So Ishvara Pranidhana has become a required practice rather than an optional practice. So for some reason, Patanjali's initial presentation of Ishvara Pranidhana is very, what would you say? Well, you can do this or that. It's not really made super important. But here it's one of the 3 practices of Kriya Yoga that's required. So it's gotten more important. You would think that Patanjali would start his chapter on practices with the first limb, which is the yamas, the ethical restraints. However, he starts with Kriya Yoga, 3 of the niyamas, the devotional observances. Placing them first shows he gives these 3 practices special importance. So that's the way Patanjali works. The most important thing, he puts it first when it comes to listing things. So how good's your memory? The next question, what are the 5 kleshas? English or Sanskrit? Either one's fine. Obstacles, 5 kleshas. The kleshas are ignorance, I amness, attraction, aversion, and clinging to life. So we'll just sit on those for a second here. Ignorance, I amness, attraction, aversion, and clinging to life. These 5 obstacles can all be weakened, diminished by the practice of Kriya Yoga. It is a little known truth of yoga practice that seekers must consistently attend to these impediments if they are to achieve their spiritual goals. which is what's on the second slide there. So then we define ignorance. Ignorance is the breeding ground of the others, whether dormant, attenuated, intermittent, or activated. Oh, what does Patanjali mean by ignorance? Which in Sanskrit is avidya. Without vidya, spiritual knowledge. Ignorance is perceiving the non-eternal, impure, and sorrowful non-self as the eternal, pure, and joyful self. What a great definition. Oh, we have this serious misconcept, shall we say, serious misconcept that things, people, experiences in the world can make us pure and joyful. We only find the right one. So we keep trying different things, different people, different experiences in hope that we will experience permanent happiness, bliss, joy, contentment. But it's all short-lived. We do experience it, but it doesn't last. That's the problem. Goes away pretty soon. Another question, what is meant by I amness? So we have the wrong definition here somehow. See what's on the next slide. Patanjali observes that in order to avert immersion in the external ego identifications, asmita, one must distinguish between the Purusha and the powers of buddhi, the instrument of perception and knowing. It is wise to not identify with our perceptive faculties. So said in common language, we think we're a person, personality, we have these abilities, whereas actually we're the observer of the personality, not the personality at all. So that's identification we have to break, become the witness, sakshin. Attraction arises from pleasure. Commentary. The power of attraction, raga, with its desire for experiences that bring happiness, is a powerful force driving the mind and determining its movements and decisions. For the common man, it is a natural pattern, while for the yogi, it is a principle to be understood and overcome. So we are attracted to that which we think will give us pleasure or which has given us pleasure in the past. And for the purpose of finding lasting happiness, which we won't find. So that attraction causes a lot of mental activity. Majority of mental activity in some people. But we're trying to reduce mental activity, so we have to get rid of the causes of mental activity, not simply the activity. We have to get rid of the cause, so we need to break through this idea that I'm going to get happiness from this. So we don't want to look at people even as giving us happiness. As you know, we say we find our happiness within and we share it with people. We don't look to them to make us happy. Aversion arises from pain. So this is an interesting point. Devesha, aversion, is as potent a negative force as raga. Attraction is an attractive force. For the serious yogi, both are to be cognized and overcome. Explanation. Experiences of pain and suffering live on in the mind's memory vault, compelling actions and reactions until they are resolved through sadhana and grace. And in our case, Mahavasanada Tantra. So sometimes what we think about the most is that which has caused us pain, or that person that has caused us pain, either in the recent past or the distant past. We haven't forgiven them. We haven't taken responsibility that everything that happens to us is our karma. However, I'm treated, it's the way I'm supposed to be treated because that's the way I treated other people in my past lives. So those are opposite, but both attraction and aversion, but they both generate lots of thoughts. The will to live is a deep-seated instinct present even in sages. Abhinivesha, whether defined as the dread of death or clinging to life, is found in all creatures, from an earthworm to a human child. It is an instinct that protects the preciousness called life, a marvelous and mystical creation of God Shiva. So we tend to cling to this life instead of letting go into the deeper spiritual realms. The subtle form of the kleshas is to be dissolved into their source and abandoned. Their mental ramifications are overcome through meditation. And boy, another question, lots of questions. How do the kleshas relate to karma? I must have had lots of coffee when I wrote all this. Lots of intellectual questions. So karma relates to the kleshas. The kleshas are the root of stored karmas to be experienced in the present or future births. Why is that? The 5 kleshas influence one's actions. They cause us to act. These attractions and aversions and sense of I-ness, the ignorance that will find happiness in the external, cause us to act. Action generates karma. When actions are strongly influenced by the kleshas, they are often unskillful, arising from a place of misunderstanding and ego, leading to future consequences that bind one to further suffering and rebirth. Practice of yoga aims to reduce the influence of kleshas, thereby promoting more skillful actions, reducing the accumulation of negative karma. So long as this root source exists, there is a ripening into one's kind of birth, lifespan, and experiences. So that's a beautiful definition of what's included in karma. So when we're born, the kind of birth, meaning the kind of family we're born into, the occupation of that family, the status of that family, our lifespan, and our general experiences that we will have, either positive or negative, all relates to our past actions and is not random. These bear fruits of pleasure or pain, depending on virtue or vice. So that's saying If we treated people nicely in the past, they will treat us nicely in the present, and the opposite. So that's a good exercise there. Lots of important knowledge in the first few verses of chapter 2 of the Yoga Sutras. And in our Siva Siddhanta, we have Anava, Karma, and Maya, the bondage. And that's the same idea. It's just another way of saying it. Anava, Karma, and Maya. So Maya, our attraction to the world, our experiences in the world creates karma, and that creates the bondage. And we pursue all of that because of Anava. Path to Shiva, second topic. What is Dharma? How would you answer that question? When God creates the universe, she endows it with order, with the laws to govern creation. Dharma is that divine law prevailing on every level of existence, from the sustaining cosmic order to religious and moral laws that bind us in harmony with that order. It is goodness, ethical practice, and duty. It is the path which leads us to liberation. Dharma is at work on 4 levels of our existence: universal, human, social, and personal. Universal Dharma rules the natural world, from subatomic quantums to galactic clusters. Social Dharma governs society. Human Dharma guides life's 4 stages. And personal Dharma is your own perfect pattern in life. It is determined by your past karmas and how the other 3 dharmas impact you. The key to discovering and understanding your personal Dharma is to worship Lord Ganesha. He knows our past lives and can clarify our right path in life. Gurudeva wrote, when we follow this unique pattern, guided by Guru, wise elders, and the knowing voice of our soul, we are content and at peace with ourselves and the world. As a youth, a big part of your Dharma is to be a good student and a good daughter or son. It is your parents' Dharma to care for you. It is your teacher's Dharma to teach you. It is the Dharma of the police to protect you. As an adult, you may become a parent, and it will then be your Dharma to raise and support your family. Later, as an elder, your Dharma will be to guide the younger generations. Yoga Swami said that Dharma is like the tracks of a train. And like the train, we must stay on the tracks to reach our destination. Dharma is so important that the Sanskrit name of Hinduism is Sanatana Dharma, the eternal path. Oh, very good. Thank you very much.